Today on CityCast Chicago, the people have spoken, and with nearly 90% of the vote, you, the audience, have crowned the winner of our March Madness Ultimate Chicago Food Bracket as none other than the Chicago hot dog. So the team is talking about the salad dog's origins, our favorite places to grab one, and if it deserves all of this hype. It's Wednesday, April 16th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago is talking about. I'm joined by our fantastic production squad, leading the group, executive producer Simone Alicea.
Hey, Jacoby.
And producer extraordinaire Michelle Navarro.
Hey, Jacoby.
So before we jump into the conversation we had last summer where we broke down all things Chicago hot dog, a couple of weeks ago during our week-long celebration of 1,000 things we love about Chicago and reaching 1,000 episodes, we did this March Madness food face-off and we came to completely different results. In our bracket, Tavern Style was the winner. We got hot dogs up out of there in the second round. Simone, what was your reaction to the people's vote where it looked like hot dog was kind of just running the bracket all the way to the finals?
I was not shocked at all. And I think it was really funny because right after we recorded the episode where we, the CityCast Chicago team, crowned Tavern Style the winner, I feel like, I can't remember who it was. One of you was like, I think the audience's vote will kind of align with where we went. And I was like, I think you guys are really underestimating the Chicago hot dog. Like, people really, really, really love the hot dog. And, you know, yeah, it in the very second round, it trounced the He Burrito with 82% of the vote. The Tavern Style matchup was really close in round 3, but the hot dog came out ahead with 54% of the vote. And then, as you said,
closer.
Our final was hot dog versus Pączki, which is a wild final matchup to begin with. But as expected, the hot dog also trounced the sweet treat there.
A shout out to all the Pączki lovers who voted and carried it to what was ultimately an ass beating. Michelle, were you shocked that the Chicago dog ran through the bracket for the most part?
No, I think similarly to Simone, after we recorded, we all kind of had this feeling that probably the Chicago hot dog would win. I mean, and to be, even though like I'm not the biggest hot dog lover, I'm not crazy about them, it is the one that reaches all corners of the city. It's nostalgic. Within the last couple of like final rounds, we all kind of knew that that's probably where the bracket was going to go.
Let's start with the very basic question, regardless of form, type, you know, how it's prepared, just as an item. Do y'all like hot dogs? Simone, we'll start with you. Do you like hot dogs?
Yeah, I definitely went through a phase like where I was like, oh, hot dogs, like it's all just like ground up meat encased in something, and surely that can't be good for me. But I've come back around. I think I really appreciate the simplicity of a hot dog, and it's actually kind of a go-to for me now in certain situations.
No, I respect that. In my household growing up, like we basically had bologna, cheese. Sometimes we had bread and we had hot dogs. That's what we had for like snacks. And so they're real nostalgic for me. I don't buy them as often. I don't keep them in the house as often, but I still like a good hot dog when I'm out. What about you, Michelle?
Yeah, I like hot dogs. I'm not huge on them. Like, I feel like when I go to a grease trap or like a little like stand or something, like I usually go for like a Big Baby or just something else. So it's not my first choice, but if it's around and I'm hungry, like I'll definitely get one and enjoy it.
For sure. When I go to like, I'm thinking of like Petey's Gyros off of the E-Way on 47th Street. I'm probably getting like a burger, but I always got a side item. And that switches between like maybe a chili cheese dog, maybe a Polish, but usually it's the pizza puff. So yeah, if we had to rank like where the hot dog falls on my snack category, it's definitely under pizza puff. Do you like the Chicago dog specifically, Simone?
Okay, I'm a Chicago dog evangelist, I would say. I don't care what anyone else has to say. I don't care whatever like veggie slander you want to throw out at the Chicago dog. I'm here for it. I think it's transformative. I would put it down as maybe the best regional hot dog in the country. I think it is. If you're going to have a hot dog, I think it's the superior dog to have.
All right, so to remind people, everything on a Chicago dog, you grab your, obviously, hot dog, your poppy bun, then you throw some mustard on it, some relish, some diced onions, tomato, pickle, a big ass pickle, some sports peppers, and some celery salt. Apparently, the original one also had lettuce, if there isn't enough things on it already. Michelle, what about you? When you hear that list of ingredients, how do you feel?
I love all the toppings on it. It just adds like flavor.
And textures.
Yeah, it does. I know, Jacoby, you said recently that you don't like sports peppers. I love sports peppers. So I love having a bunch in every bite. I like the crunchiness and the flavor. I can't have a plain hot dog. Whenever I'm in a situation where I'm eating a plain hot dog, it takes me back to Socorro Sandoval Elementary School on 55th in St. Louis, eating a sad ass hot dog in the cafeteria, a boiled hot dog with nothing but one packet of ketchup to it. And I don't like those memories. I like my hot dog, treated with love. I need all the toppings. I need the crunch, the spice, the seasonings. I think it's what really makes it for me.
Nah, I respect that. I respect that. Both of y'all opinions. Nope. I'm the resident Chicago dog hater. I don't just hate the sport peppers. I don't want the pickle. I don't want the tomatoes.
You don't like
I really
pickles?
don't want the mustard.
What do you mean you don't like mustard?
I like pickles. I love sweet pickles, but I don't want them on a hot dog. Like, the one thing I want with a hot dog is, and I'm not saying a Chicago dog is not a good grab and go option. That's not what I'm saying. But I just want a largely simple bite that is maybe a little messy, but like sort of making sure all of the vegetables stay and I get a good bite of all. By the end of the bite, I barely taste the hot dog. And so not only do I not like the Chicago hot dog, I disagree with the idea that it's the best regional dog. I'll take a coney with some chili, some onions, and I'll even take the mustard there.
No.
Over
Wait,
it.
so you like the mustard? You like the mustard in the coney dog, but you don't like it on the Chicago dog?
No, because I appreciate that it's sort of lost a little bit in the meat, and I appreciate mustard with ketchup. I'm not gonna lie. Like the Chicago arrogance around, we won't put ketchup on a hot dog. I was at a festival once. I asked for a hot dog, hold some of the ingredients, and then with the ketchup. And dude literally looked at me and said, I'm a real Chicagoan. I won't put ketchup on it. You do it yourself. And he wasn't joking. He wasn't playing. He was serious. And I about wanted to smack his ass. I was like, who are you talking to? I was like, not only did I just pay for this, but like, real Chicagoan, bro. You ain't probably never even been to my neighborhood. Get out my face.
So I agree that kind of behavior is like super tiring and irritating and uncalled for. Like, especially at like an establishment where you're buying food. Like that's wild.
Like, what are you doing?
But Jacoby, ketchup. Ketchup.
It's great.
It is a condiment that all it does is mask. It's just sugar and acid just squirted from a bottle.
You ain't said nothing that made me hate it in any way. I love it more after your description, honestly. Mask, covering, square out. I love every which way you could have described it. And I think, especially coming up in a household where a lot of these ingredients, I'm not saying they weren't available, but no one was going through all of that. Like, my grandma made you a hot dog and she said, ketchup, mustard, pickle lily. Ketchup, mustard, pickle lily. That's how my grandma made it every single time. And so the idea that like ketchup is this, like the Chicago boogeyman that just has no place even near a hot dog is ridiculous when it is just one of the most widely accessible condiments to the most amount of people in Chicago. So I think it just works so well on a hot dog.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, now that you're older and you have a choice, why would you choose ketchup?
And that's another thing people say. It's always about it being sort of childish, as if our tastes aren't developed in childhood. Like, our personalities aren't developed in childhood. Like, a lot of our interests and hobbies aren't.
That's wild.
I'm not saying tastes don't change and they don't expand, but I'm saying something as seminal to childhood as memories with my grandmother, a household that maybe didn't have all of the groceries because there was 4 to 5 people living in it. Ketchup was probably as consistent in the refrigerator as water. And so I'm just saying it's hard to detach that from it, from my appreciation for it. And so every time people are like, oh, it's so kiddie, it's sugar, I'm like, okay, you just reminded me of growing up in the hood, so I don't know what you want me to do.
I love the ketchup on there. I would replace the whole tomato or like the chunks of tomatoes with just ketchup instead. Cause I like tomatoes, but I'm not big on those kinds of tomatoes on that Chicago dog specifically.
And they always put fat ass chunks on it. Don't nobody cut the tomatoes up well. They just like.
I will agree. So the only thing I ask for when I get my Chicago dog, I ask for it with no tomato. And my issue with tomato is that there's a lot of really bad tomatoes out there. Like, I feel like it's really hard to find a good tomato. And so it's just like watery and kind of gross.
And you got to put some salt on it. You got to pre-salt it.
I am here. The whole reason I come to a Chicago dog is two things. It's the acid in the mustard, in the pickle, in the relish. And then it's also the texture in the relish, in the onions, in the sport pepper. Like, I just think it's strong flavor, these strong textures. It actually feels like a meal, or it feels like a sandwich.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm going to, again, mustard, relish, onions. I'm going to throw a little salt and pepper on it to be a little fancy. But the rest of this, I'll take my pickle on the side. And if I want a side salad, I give me a side salad.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new Next Gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
So while I don't like the Chicago dog and I don't like Chicago dog gatekeeping, but the actual story of the Chicago dog, like what makes it and why it is so such a Chicago staple, I've always enjoyed that story.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it actually used to be called the Depression sandwich. So it has its origins in the Great Depression because for exactly kind of the reasons we're talking about, it was a whole meal, meat, veg, bread that you could get for really, really cheap. Like in so much of Chicago food, right? So much of it is an immigrant story, right? When the Germans came to Chicago, they helped to, and to the US in general, right? They helped to popularize what we now, right? The concept of a hot dog and sausages and eating them in that way. And then you had Jewish immigrants who kind of added their own spin to make them all beef franks, right? To make them kosher. And then, of course, Chicago being the meat packing, meat processing, meat packing capital of the world, it became a natural sort of transition to creating, it's like, what are we going to do with all these meat trimmings that are coming out of, from all the butchers here? Oh, let's turn them into sausages and let's do something with those. And I do think it's a great story, and it's such a classic Chicago story as well.
So when you are craving a hot dog, Michelle, where do you go to get one?
I usually don't seek out a hot dog. It's because of like, it's either super late or I'm at a sporting event and like that's what I'm craving. And so growing up, I went to Jim's Original a lot in Little Italy because it's just one of those spots that are open late and it's right by the E-way. It's just there. It's reliable. It's good. Growing up, my dad would take me there. He loves like the Polish sausages. Like that's his go-to. So like that's, the original Polish stand. And so he'll get a Polish. I get just like a regular Chicago dog and a side of fries. Like it's just kind of those spots, especially if you're on the South Side. Like there's not a lot of things that are usually open late. It's like you get tacos or you get like hot dogs or a burger. And so I feel like that was kind of our go-to.
Vienna Beef started inducting places into their Vienna Beef Hall of Fame in 2006. There are over 100 places in the Hall of Fame between 2006 and 2024, and Jim's Original is in it. What year would you guess they were inducted?
Look at you sneaking in some trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a guess.
No, I have a guess too, because they just celebrated this past Monday. They just celebrated 85 years. Because 85 years, I would think it's like that same year. So you said 2006. So I would say 2006.
I was going to say the same thing. I think they're in the first round of inductees because I know Jim's is classic. It's on basically every list. It is sort of said in the same breath as Chicago Dog.
You both would be wrong. That is a great guess. That is what I assumed when I looked it up as well. But no, there were 30 inductees, over 30 inductees in the original class, and Jim's wasn't inducted until 2013.
Wow.
Yes, 2013. Good guess, though. I'm glad y'all was putting some respect on their name. You were about to say the most recent hot dog you had. Where'd you get that one from?
Yeah, I had a friend visit me recently. So we went to a Cubs game, and so we got a dog there. And it's one of those quick dogs where you just like pick it up at the window and then you put your own toppings, which I love because then I get to pick specifically how much I want of everything. And then before that, I went to the Wiener Circle for the first time up in Lincoln Park, which is
how was that experience for you?
Experience? Yeah, that's my thought too. Did you know what it was before you went?
I did okay. know. I went with friends who like had gone before. And so I was expecting entertainment and a side of possible emotional abuse. And it was really, honestly, really funny. The person who served us, the woman at the window, was actually really funny and lovely. And she was very kind to us, kind of, but really mean to other people, which was very funny, especially because I think she liked us because we were giving her back the same energy versus the other people who walked in who were just like, oh, and it's like, you didn't know how this was going to be.
Yeah, here's the secret for people in case anyone is like, what are they talking about right now? Wiener Circle, notorious for this very kind of rude
yeah, they're purposely rude. They purposely scold you.
It's kind of a bit.
It's a bit.
But it's kind of not a bit.
Nah, I've gotten Poochie at the window, Roberta Poochie Jackson, before. Not only is she demanding that you give her a tip, you got to go get the Venmo. So like it follows through. You can reject, but I don't know how the peer pressure worked on me. I followed through, gave the tip. But yeah, I asked for ketchup on the hot dog. Basically told me I was stupid son of a bitch.
But it's okay when she does it. It's all right. It's all right when they do it.
Hey, she black as hell. I ain't finna say nothing to her. Poochie Smith, because I said earlier that make me want to smack the hell out of somebody. Poochie sounded like she was finna smack the hell out of me. So it was a difference. I was like, the stare down worked. But I have been a few times, and it is a little bit jarring every time.
But they've got that great patio in the back now too. It's kind of wild because like you go in and it's still like a hot dog stand and it's kind of grungy, but then also they've got this like beautiful patio in the back and a bar, and you're like, what?
All right, same question. The Wiener Circle, another Hall of Fame restaurant. What year do you think they were inducted?
I would guess this might be too early. I would guess like 2014. That is based off of very little, based off the vibes of
It's
I
been
feel
open
like
since 1983.
so 2014, but I think that's when the like rudeness and stuff, that's like the viral rude era of like when people would go to restaurants, they'd film themselves and like I don't know, it just feels like a very 2014 era kind of thing, and I wonder if that's when they maybe picked up on that. So that's my guess, 2014.
I'm gonna just guess and say 2011. No context, just a guess.
I was reading the Atlas Obscura piece. It says from the beginning, in the neighborhood, the customers were not always the nicest or most attentive. One night in 1992, founder Larry Gold was trying to get a patron's attention, and when typical pleas didn't work, Gold yelled out, "Hey, asshole." It was a 2006 original inductee. Yes. It was amongst the original group.
Oh, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that, but I was like, I said that last time.
Wow. I guess they are famous. Well, yeah.
They are. Yep, they are famous.
I think the hot dogs are just fine. One of the facts I was reading about Vienna, we keep referring to Vienna Beef, which is sort of the hot dog provider in Chicago. You see their signs everywhere, right? And I was reading a Forbes article where they said that hot dog supply is very regional, like Nathan's in New York, for example, right? And apparently Vienna Beef, according to this article, had 71% of the market share in Chicago for hot dogs.
Damn.
Which is wild, right?
Yes. I was thinking some of the others in that 2006 class, Skip's Chicago Dogs, Wolfie's Hot Dogs, Byron's Hot Dogs in Lawrence, and Byron's Hot Dogs in Irving Park, then some others. We'll put the entire link to the Hall of Fame down below. But Wiener Circle was on your list, Jim's Original. Simone, what about you? Do you have a spot, or do you just end up eating hot dogs when you out?
I think for me, it's all about context. And I think the context I end up eating hot dogs the most often is when I am being a tourist in Chicago. So it's like when I end up at Navy Pier, when I'm in Millennium Park, when I'm down by Museum Campus. Some of those vendors and like some of the stuff they're serving, you're like not quite sure, like, is it going to be good? What is this? Like, is this really what I want? Whereas like even like a relatively low quality hot dog is still going to fill you up and it's still going to taste good. Like, so long as they're not boiling it, which most of these vendors aren't, they're either steaming it or they're charring it. So like that to me is the like context in which I am most often eating a hot dog. I'm almost never like stopping off and getting it.
You also got a fancy dog on your list.
Well, so I have actually never been to I was looking up just kind of what other people say, because again, I don't go out in search of hot dogs. They kind of just find me and I'm in a context where they make sense. But pretty much everyone on the internet mentioned Fix and Frank's at Home Depot, the Home Depot hot dog.
Yeah.
This is the low-key spot, especially the one on Elston. It's the one on Elston, I believe, is one of the spots where Fix and Frank's offers a Wagyu hot dog. So a very fancy beef hot dog. Another one that came up that now I do kind of want to go seek out and try is Duck Inn. Apparently has a hot dog that is a mixture of duck and beef. It's a duck fat hot dog. And I don't know, that immediately you put duck in something and my brain is like, yes, I'd like to try that. Please put that on my plate.
No, I had it. It's fire.
Is it good?
It is. It's fire.
Did you eat it with ketchup?
No, I ate it how they made it. And they make it the sort of traditional way, but it carries. But again, I think I probably took the sports peppers off. I'm always going to take them off.
I read somewhere that Chicago and New Orleans are the largest consumers of sport peppers between Jardinera and Muffalata. Jacoby, what about you? Where do you go to get your hot dogs? Your hot dogs with ketchup or whatever else you put on them. I
love a good shady comment. Very similar to y'all. It is contextual. I think the last hot dog I had that wasn't like at the 4th of July cookout over the weekend, which again, grilled, a little bit of homemade barbecue sauce, to perfection. I need nothing more than that. But if I am looking for like a chili cheese dog, I go over to Dan's Hot Dogs on 93rd and Ashland. And again, this was my childhood hot dog stand next to my elementary school where I went for K through 8th grade. And so it was something that I had way more times than I can count. Also, even though y'all have no connection to this restaurant, when do y'all think Dan's Hot Dogs, because it's another Hall of Fame Vienna beef restaurant, what year would you say Dan's was inducted? And it was founded in the 1980s.
2009.
Okay.
I have no reason.
You're splitting the difference now between your first two.
2006.
Good guesses. No, Dan's was inducted in 2018.
What?
Yes.
What are the parameters? How do they give you any, like, how do they define a Hall of Famer?
They do not. They do a little write-up on them, though. And over the years, Dan's became a reputable Chicago hot dog stand. Mayor Daley used to come by Dan's or have his assistant pick up lunch for the offices. And even some of the barbershop movie cast would stop in. Serving the local community is a priority for Dan's. They have participated in charitable work with St. Ethelrita's School.
Oh, that's your school.
I didn't even realize until I started reading their write-up just now that was even mentioned in there. And so shout out to them.
Real quick, before we get out of here, I feel like we can't talk about hot dog sausages without talking about the Maxwell Street Polish.
That is on my list. And for me, it reigns supreme over the Chicago dog. If I had to choose, put in a room with a perfect Maxwell Street Polish, charred Polish, grilled onions, and you put that next to the perfect Chicago hot dog with all the perfect fixings at the right proportions, I'm still taking the Maxwell Street Polish. And I'm getting mine probably on 79th in South Chicago, which means I am braving arguably one of the scariest intersections in all of Chicago to get this Polish. And then I'm probably going to throw some fries on top of it as well.
I love a Polish. Polish is a close second for me. I think it is sort of like, to me, it is sort of the things done simply but done well, right? And I think in many ways the Polish sausage is superior to the beef frank. I love grilled onions and I love mustard. I assume you don't get yours with sport peppers, Jacoby, which is the original way to eat it.
I do not. But again, the mustard and the grilled onions, those work together for me. I don't love mustard, but I do appreciate it in a certain context. Like I use it as a binder and I love honey mustard, so.
It's because you like the sugar.
Yes, Simone. Yes, I do. That's why my mouth is. You sound like my dentist. Like my dentist looked at my mouth and just went, "You like Laffy Taffies, don't you?" And I said, "Yes," and I always have. Now you know that about me.
Simone gonna take you to get a vegan dog soon.
I need to take my ass to X-Mart now.
I will eat. I'm so the opposite, Jacoby. I will have my vegan hot dog with extra mustard and a pickle beer. That's like the level of acid I'm looking for in my life.
I will say this, for as much as I dislike it and as much as I appreciate other Chicago foods, again, I'm taking the Polish, I'm taking a slice of deep dish, I'm taking a pizza puff, I'm taking the brownie. But as sort of its place as a Chicago iconic snack, its story, what it looks like on a picture, like I am cool with where it sits in Chicago's lore because I understand that is more than taste. That is about, that's narrative, that's aesthetic, accessibility, all of these different things. Like, again, its relationship to Navy Pier and sporting events and your street vendors. For that reason alone, I think it should sit where it sits on the overall ranking and list. Chicago iconic food. I want to give a huge thank you to our amazing CityCast Chicago team. Shout out to executive producer and Chicago hot dog evangelist, Simone Alisea.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
And shout out to our amazing producer, Michelle Navarro.
Thanks, Jacoby.
For the full Hall of Fame list and all the restaurants mentioned in this conversation, please check our show notes. One more thing, some good news. A lot to celebrate in Chicago basketball land. Shout out to all of the players drafted by the Sky earlier this week, including Slovenian forward Aisha Kasivka, TCU guard Haley Van Leith, who is going to be reunited with Sky star Angel Reese. You also had Maddie Westbell from Notre Dame and Aisha Coulibaly from Texas A&M. I'm so excited for this forthcoming season to see what this team does. On the other side of things, over at the United Center, the Bulls are taking on the Heat tonight in an elimination play-in game. Loser goes home. Hopefully we get to live to see one more game. As always, I appreciate y'all for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
I think another reason that I'm such an evangelist for the Chicago dog is because I'm from Seattle, and the Seattle dog is so...
I should have asked that. That's a good one.
It's so ridiculous. A Seattle hot dog is a hot dog on a bun with grilled onions and cream cheese.
Nah. Michelle's face.